Just a few seconds.
Just a second, all right.
You're good.
Okay, call this meeting of the Sunny County Commissioners to order September 12th, 2017. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take one moment, bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we ask for your wisdom in making the decisions that are in the best interest of those we represent. We ask for your kindness and your blessing on all of the hurricane victims in the southern part of our country and in the Caribbean. We ask that you watch over us and bless all of us here. We ask all this through your Son. Amen. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Stacy? Here.
All right, I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session held September 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, they stand approved as presented. Miss Julie,
Yeah.
to save you time and, keep the private industry moving along, I think that we'll let you make your health insurance update first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You're on.
I'm on. Okay, well, yesterday the committee met and we brought the renewal. It is a 7.2% rate increase that is being shown by Subco. And the committee did decide that they felt that, just passing that on the way it is, not trying to adjust anything from, money sitting around,
Right.
left over or anything. So we are suggesting taking the renewal as is and going with it that way.
The HSA amounts will remain the same, 500 and 1,000.
Yeah, requesting it, yeah.
And that was the request from the committee. And the high deductible plan, the deductibles do go up per
Correct.
legislation or regulation.
Right, and that is
To
due to
2,700 and
tax.
400.
So the 500 is individual and 1,000 is family? Okay. We still have the 4 tiers?
You do.
Okay.
Yep. They're still working on some wellness initiatives for us. They do have a new, and Holly, what was their company called?
Interactive Health.
Interactive Health.
Oh, wow.
They're gonna be doing our wellness instead of Stay Well.
New vendor.
New vendor, but we've had good word about this company, so we'll see. Not much is changing, though Bob hasn't had their final meeting to narrow down what they're gonna do, but our wellness committee and health insurance committee discussed a little bit yesterday about increasing some of the milestones, because before we could only get 450 and then that's it. That's all the further you get, that's your points, no incentive past that. So they're gonna work on a plan for maybe some additional incentives because we had a very good wellness program, and not that we don't currently still have one, but our previous one
Was more challenging.
Yeah, it was
more challenging than the
It kept
current
you-
one, a little more robust.
it kept you engaged throughout the whole year, whereas this is kind of step back a little bit, and you can get your points in the first month or two, and you're not keeping the employees engaged. So I think Bob and the wellness committee is kind of work on that, and I think one of the suggestions was maybe since we do the wellness is usually been at a set rate, like for the family for the employee, it was a deduction of $12 to pay. If it was an employee child, it's $12. If it's employee spouse, it was $26, and if it was family, it was $35. One of the suggestions was maybe that if they, increase the points, if they get a higher milestone, maybe to offer those higher milestones the offset of what our increase would be. Like she said, the health insurance committee is recommending we stay with Subco's increase, but potentially, that's one of the things the wellness committee is gonna go over and potentially, so instead of, it would give the families a little bit better of breaks, like, their increase, and I'm just gonna use HSA numbers with the 7%. Yeah, their current is 138. It would go up to 148 with the 7.2%. If we put in the milestones, and offset that, their rate could stay the same. So,
So as it is now, earn the benefit for the following year,
yeah.
5 points.
So for now, what we have to decide is will we accept the 7.2 and leave the HSA, the SAC?
And to be very clear, we don't need to act on it today. If you guys need more time to look at it, we can have until next week but we thought since we had the information, we get it very quickly
Sure.
as possible.
I saw it yesterday.
I think I gave you each a report.
Yeah, it's a recommendation of the committee, yes, Judy.
And I was gonna just say, Subco, we have one more year on that 3-year commitment to Subco. So, next year, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, Shane, will be the year that we quote everything out, make sure Subco's, makes the most sense. But to try to get out of that 3-year commitment,
By next year,
doesn't make a
Congress
lot
will
of
have
sense.
a whole new plan.
Right.
I'll have it fixed.
It'll be
No
fixed.
problem.
Oh, yeah,
Fixed, yeah.
no question. So, no concerns there.
Little high in the sky, Judge?
Wow, what la land.
I would accept the motion to accept.
I will
the,
move
Okay,
on
very
that we
good.
accept
I
the
will
recommendation of the health committee.
I will second that.
Insurance committee.
Okay.
And I'll just add just a comment, at the Northwest Iowa Commissioners meeting yesterday, since the rates just came out Friday, and that's why the meeting was yesterday and so forth, but I was at that meeting, and, yeah, they said on average, the health insurance was a 5.1% average across the board. In many years, if I remember right, Julie, we were below the average on where we've been. And we knew that, at some point we'd be, at the average or slightly above, and we're slightly above, and of no big surprise, but if we didn't do my opinion is we didn't do something to stay with what is given to us, we might get bit by it next year if we have an even bigger jump.
Right.
So,
Well, I like the idea if you go into a regimen, and do the health stuff, that you'll have virtually no increase. That's a great idea. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
yes,
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Okay, let's get to the agenda then. Do we have any additions to the agenda, either old or new? I only have one, that's the discussion of an alley vacation, but I think I'll take that at the end of Tanya's report, we'll discuss that briefly. And again, in respect for folks' time, Tanya's here to give a report on the museum. Why don't we go ahead and do that? And Mark. Good morning, Mark.
Actually have quite a bit, so this is a printout of everything that we've been doing since April 1st to August 31st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like one? For your file. Would you like one? Okay. You're welcome. I have 2 more, anybody? There you go. Oh, you brought it in. Well, we've been quite busy, as you can see by the report here. And I'm sure you don't want to read through all of this, so I'm just kind of like gonna highlight the main things and talk more about this weekend, because we have the Heritage Festival, car show, fundraiser, everything at the museum, and I think we're gonna have a good success out of it. So, getting back to that, if you started the attendance, we had 5 groups use the Fort Ballroom for a total of 193. We had 298 walk-ins from 16 different states and the District of Columbia and 4 different countries, Canada, Russia, England, and Italy. I'm not going to get into all this about the advisory board, but as everybody knows, we've been meeting with Brian Cavins for this organization. And we had a 3-hour retreat, and then we had the 3 meetings, the town hall meetings, and I prepared a PowerPoint show for that, and that went over really well. We had a good turnout from the public and everything for the events, so we were happy with that. Tour groups and museum events. In May, we hosted the Tiffin City School third graders and have had 250 students, teachers, and chaperones. And that was the second highest number of students and everything in 4 years that we had come through. In June, we had the Take Your Kids to Work with the Seneca County Job Services, and that was a lot of fun. We gave them a special tour and had a little slideshow for them about did you know of Tiffin things in the county. And we also opened the museum on Monday, June 19th as part of the GOBA. And we had a large exhibit of antique bikes, and some of them were from the museum, others were from personal collections. And we had the help of 7 volunteers, and we handed out popcorn and bottled water. We had actually 28 visitors for that event. Monthly meetings, we had the Heritage Festival committees preparing for the festival and the car show, 1822 Tiffin Birthday Committee, and that's why we brought along this board over here. These were done by Mark Levins. We actually have 14 different history boards now, and this one is to commemorate the 200 year of Erastus Bow being the first white settler. And then we also have these cards that we made up to hand out to the visitors for the weekend and to all the school kids. So everybody's welcome to take one if you'd like of those. These are the cards for that. And that basically just tells everything that's on those big boards. And it's double-sided, so they leave them out at the festivals. They'll be at different locations. You want to pass those around if you guys like any? Let's see. The Tiffin Museum Art Gallery Alliance meeting, we prepared for the annual German dinner, and that was a fairly good success. We did, after the fact, get another $1,000 donation in to the group, so that was divided among all of us, and that helped. That was a nice thing to get in the mail. So, volunteers, we've had 9 different volunteers for a total of 1,050 hours given since April. Speaking engagements, I spoke to the retired professional meetings at Mercy Hospital. I talked at the Seneca County Fairgrounds for the Girl Scouts Convention. I gave a program on the history of Tiffin washboards in June. Gave a program in July for the history of the junior home to the Retired Employees of Public Association. July, gave a program to the preschool to 5th grade to the Sycamore Community Library as part of their Build a Better World program. And in August, gave a program on the history of Tiffin and Seneca County washboards at the Attica Senior Citizens Luncheon. The museum inventory, so far we've completed 850 sheets. That's 624 added since the March 31st report. And we have a lot that are prepared and ready to go into the computer. It's just getting the time. And we stopped doing all that to prepare for this weekend, get everything cleaned up and organized at the museum for the festival and everything. So we'll start that back up after the festival. And we're just cleaning the rooms and doing new exhibits and everything as we go. Historical luncheons and fundraisers. We had the Easter luncheon on the history of buttons, and again worked with the Museum Alliance for the German dinner. Social media, continually updating the museum website with any events or changes to the museum hours. Facebook continues to grow. We added 400 more followers and we're up to 6640. The museum Facebook posts are also used by Seneca County News Daily. And the museum Instagram account continues to grow and is another form of reaching out to the public. Marketing, Jimmy Flint's not here today. We were going to thank him because he actually did some letters and articles on the volunteers and everything for us. So I guess we'll be thanking you if you come and help us. But you can tell Jimmy when you see him. Like I said, we had 500 of those made here, of these to hand out to the kids and everything. And the other thing that we had made, this is a 3-foot dimensional street sticker that's going to be out for the celebration commemorating the 200 year of him, and it's gonna be at the Patriots Memorial Park. And we'll have one of the posters around too in our hang, but that way they can walk up and see kind of where the location was of where his cabin and everything was. We really can't put it over by the monument because what marks the spot of where it would have been is like right in the middle of the intersection, and we didn't want people out there looking at what's this, you know, and getting ran over in the road. So that's why it's down at the park instead. But Mark and I worked on that, and again, Mark Levins is doing this, and I think it looks wonderful. So I can't wait to see it put down. And if it gets tore up during the festival, we had a second one made so that when it comes to November for the actual birth date, then we could put a new one down. So let's see here. I'm gonna skip over some of the other projects there, but getting to the museum projects, we installed new curtains in the Gibson room, the quilt room, the Pioneer room, new blinds in the library and the office, and those were to protect the library and our hang for archival. We had the museum silver collection all cleaned and the silver display cabinets painted. Installed a new display featuring the history of Seneca County Fair for 175th celebration. We actually dismantled that and are in the process of putting together the one on Erastus Go. The Tiffin Fire Department did their annual fire and safety inspection, and the American Fire and Safety Company inspected all fire extinguishers. Burkett was in because we thought we had some malfunctioning fire alarms in our hang because they kept setting off in our hang. Well, we did find out there was batteries needed to be replaced. But in the last week, we've also found we have a bat problem over there. We found 4 of them in the museum, dead, dried up. So they had to have been ones that were in there flying around, setting off the alarms. We had one on the 2nd floor in the bathroom, we had 2 in the basement, and we had one on the 1st floor. So we don't know where they're coming in at because all the chimneys were supposed to have been capped off a long time ago. If they're coming in the door when they're open, we have no clue where they're coming from. So we got to get a hold of maintenance, have them come over and kind of go through things to see if there's some holes or something that are coming in. Because we haven't had any for a long time. There for a while we had a bunch of them. And then the last probably 7, 8 years we haven't had hardly any. You know, one occasionally. But to find 4 of them, we're like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
So we will be checking with John on that. Also, met with John Logsden, the maintenance supervisor, on upgrading the lighting in the kitchen and on the 3rd floor. And he also had the tree trimming company come and trim some of the trees, and he has more lined up for next year. So that was a big help to get it away from the library window and they're hanging away from the wires. J&B Roofing was there, did a lot of work to the roof. I hate to say this, but we have more problems. It is leaking between the main part of the house and the divider of the 2nd floor, right where the main roof would be. It's coming down in the hallway there on the steps, and then we've noticed it in the bathroom on the 2nd floor there. So we have to call them up again and have them back out, have them look at it. We've been working with the county computer IT, upgrading the computer in their hang, but we're still having problems because you can't get a hold of the guy that is from the heating company for him to change out the modem or whatever it is between the units, so it's still kicking. He was just over there last week and it's still doing the same things, kicking us off. So he's working on getting the software and getting that straightened out. We already went over the decal. We have got a few accessions. We got an 1860s wool and crazy quilt from the Thompson family. 2 4th degree Knights of Columbus dress uniforms, capes, accessories, books, all kinds of things to go with it. We also received 2 rockers. One is a lady's, like a sewing rocker, one of the real small ones that would have originally folded up, but they changed it, it doesn't fold. And a child's rocker, and it was from the Hoppus family, and it was made out of wood that was from their farm, from the grandfather. So a variety of electrical motors, tools, photos from a retired General Electric factory employee. She was actually 92 years old, and her family brought that stuff in. She's still living, and that's going to be our next exhibit after Erasmusville. We're doing it on like all the old industries and things that are not around anymore. We also received, I don't know if everybody knows, but Dr. Bush at Heidelberg is retiring. He's still going to do his digs at Johnson's Island and everything, but the program at Heidelberg has been dissolved, and we received boxes and boxes of archives and artifacts from the digs and everything that were done here in the county. So one of these times when we get the room upstairs redone and everything, we will be doing a new exhibit on that display, and it's quite massive. So that is my program. The only other thing I have is this weekend for the festival, we had these shirts made up, which says Seneca County Museum Blast from the Past, and it's got a concert thing on the back. We will be selling these for $10 donation for the museum, and they're also going to be handed out to the people that are there for the car show. We had posters reproduced from Boogie Hollow, and that one. Boogie Hill. So I'm thinking of St. John's Hollow. But we have those also. We've had tremendous help from the public going around, and we're getting donations of things. We have baskets with Yeti cup holder things in them. We have gift certificates from different places all over the county. We have a bicycle that my family is donating to be raffled off. It's a bike and a helmet for a child. So we're going to be selling raffle tickets $1 a piece. They're 6 for $5. So, and that'll be Saturday and Sunday. And the money will go towards the museum, of course, for that. So if any of you don't have anything to do on Saturday, we'd love to have you come down to the museum. Jolly's is also going to be parked in front of the museum selling food all day Saturday. So hope to see you there. Any questions or anything?
What is the accession process if somebody comes with something for the museum?
Well, we look it over and see if it's something that was,
I mean, is there a committee, is there a
No.
process, is there a?
there's a paperwork that we fill out,
And that's one of the things in the STEPS program that, you know,
Mhm.
Brian was talking about, that as part of the Ohio History Connection grant that we have for the reorganization and stuff was the standardization program. And that's one of the types of policies
Okay.
that it talks about having established, so that you have something that, you know, to go with it.
Gotcha. And do you inventory those as they come in?
Yes.
So that,
so like everything
Don't
we've
go to the
got in
back of the line,
now,
like, yeah.
no, has been picture taken, numbered, and put into the computer. So
awesome.
everything is being done as it comes in. So
Good job.
any other questions or anything, or?
Just two things very quickly. I think, first of all, Brian, I think that it's important to note that after all the discussions that we've had and all the meetings, et cetera, the one thing that stands out was that as a group, everybody thought the number one priority ought to be to pay attention to the carriage house and possibly do something with that sooner than later. I just thought that was interesting that that's kind of the final result. There are a number of priorities, but that came up to the top.
I didn't have that in my report, sorry.
No,
But
that's perfectly
We do
okay,
have a
but-
gentleman coming next week from a restoration group that done work on St. Joe's, and they did work at the Overland Inn and on the Wyandotte County Museum. And he's coming to talk to us, just to kind of give us some ideals and see things that he thinks could be done in everything. So we're hoping the carriage house would be the big thing, and we can
Right,
work
well, I
forward on
mean,
that.
it gives
So
it gives the advisory board some direction, and that's a good thing. Second thing is, we did have, and I know that Tanya talked to you about a request for an alley vacation by Urban Shaw.
Right.
That one of the alleys kind of intersects with the alley behind the museum. And your comment was, I want to make sure that you're okay, that there really wouldn't be much interference as far as the museum is concerned.
No, and the reason he's doing that is he bought that lot that's across the alley, and there's a
Right.
house there, he tore it down, and I'm sure he's wanting to join that together, so.
Right.
Yeah, we get along great with him, he's helped with things at the museum and everything, and I don't see a problem with that at all. And he did discuss it with Mark also, and
Okay.
as far
Well,
as,
part of the process is, as a property owner being the county, when he does the petition, It's, they attempt to get all the surrounding landowners to say yea or nay. So I just wanted to make sure you're okay with
Yep.
that.
We're fine with it, so.
Are there set hours for things Saturday, Sunday at the museum?
Yes, Saturday is 12 to 5 and Sunday is 12 to 4. And we will be doing the raffle drawings and are hanged on Sunday at 4 o'clock, so around 4, so.
Thanks.
Okay, Tanya, nice job. Any other questions? Any questions from the general group out here at the museum? None? Okay, we'll go forward.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you. Justice Center, Commissioner Stacy.
All right, aside from the construction continues and more windows going in and you can see all of the exterior things happening and lots going on the inside as well. Our next public event regarding the Justice Center is the Cornerstone Ceremony, which will take place Friday at 5 o'clock, right there at the main entrance of the building on Market Street. So the Masons are gonna take care of running the ceremony actually for us. And it's quite exciting because they've invited all the lodges across the state to participate. Not sure how many are coming, but they're expecting quite a few Masons to be part of this. And the Grand Master for Ohio is going to be the one leading the ceremony. They're gonna step out from the lodge on South Washington Street and come down the street and then over. They're gonna step off at 4:45. They're doing the flag presentation themselves. We'll get things coordinated. They'll run the ceremony. The Tiffin University Marching Band is joining them. It won't be a real long ceremony, but we'll start there at 5, probably be done by about 5:20. And then everybody can move on to Heritage Festival festivities because then those things will all be rolling. Streets will already, not all of them, not that whole section of South Washington there, but once you get up to past Madison, past our street here, things closed already for concessions. Parking lots are already be closed because of Heritage Festival festivities. So I just caution folks to want to come down to be part of this. Give yourself time to find your parking. It's supposed to be beautiful, and you can walk over to the Cornerstone Ceremony and witness that history in taking place.
Yeah, I mentioned to Jimmy, the newspaper, that there is a photo of the 1884 Cornerstone laying that would certainly be nice to have in the paper to remind people of the crowd that was there at that point. I think Mark probably has access to that picture.
Yes, we do. It's on the Facebook page, but I can certainly send it to anybody who would like to have it.
Maybe
Send
if
it
we
to
can get
Jimmy or to-
if we can get the email address for this young man at the paper, it would be certainly a good thing to forward to them for that opportunity. All right. Lady Justice,
Lady Justice.
that,
We have an update on Lady Justice, other than we know the cupola will go up long before Lady Justice is ready to adorn the top of it. That will happen later.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was an update on the fundraising activities, where we're at. I know we advanced some funds, and I just want to kind of set a timeline for deciding how that's going to get paid for.
sure, I can give you our version that we've had over the past couple of years, and that is that there is some money raised, 6,000 or 7,000. Your Honor,
It's a little higher than that.
okay. So there's some money raised.
It's 10 to 12 has been raised privately.
And we are, I mean, I think the concern is that the county is fronting the money all the way through this. But we have assurances that that will be private money that ends up paying it, or not private money, but money either from private citizens or from other sources that will not come out of the general fund.
It will not come out of the general fund. I think the money was fronted was mostly general special projects fund money from the judges,
The first third of it, yeah.
wasn't it?
The first third of it all was, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not coming out of the general fund whatsoever. So the total cost of Lady Justice will be from private funding and from the general special projects fund of the courts.
And the work that the Tiffin Historic Trust and the Bar Association did, there's around 3,000 they've got held, that they, from some things they did. And I don't have the paper in front of me, but if people donate a certain amount, we're gonna have some kind of,
There'll be a plaque if
Plaque or
it
display.
meets with the commissioner's approval for all those that donate above a certain level.
yeah.
And their name will be on that plaque
So we can get anybody in touch with the Tiffin Historic Trust, as well as Bar Association, or you can see Jeff Shuff and whatever, if you're interested in, anybody wants to contribute to
Somebody will
that.
take your check.
That,
We, the
absolutely.
county, cannot solicit that money, but
Absolutely.
those
And
organizations.
one of the
are-
issues we were coming up with, and why it's kind of delayed, is the Bar Association is not a 501c3 organization, and therefore contributions there would not be tax deductible on a personal income tax return. However, some law firms could take it as an advertising form. So we have that issue. The Tiffin Historic Trust then got involved, I believe, to help out because they are 501c3. And it's something that fits within their mission as making downtown Tiffin beautiful, if not historical, because we're going back to how it looked with Lady Justice.
Kinda,
Kind of. She's more
yes.
modern than the first one, okay? But it is kind of similar. And anyway, the fundraising, I think, will pick up and it will be ongoing, but as we've indicated before, it will not come out of the general fund.
Thank you for that update.
We
Your
did
Honor.
get a second invoice for that we did pay. So. just
It's
wanted
still
to-
somewhere in the $67,000 range.
What we have, I think, is 70.
Could you get me a copy of that?
Yeah,
I
I mean, I
can.
think. yeah,
It
we
came
should-
We didn't
in
know.
with- It came in with Stilling's last bill, so it just kind of got,
Okay.
but I'll send it to you.
All right,
Yeah.
let us know and we will help get that taken
Okay.
care of.
She's being bronzed as we speak,
It is.
yes.
Mike, can we do the TCAP stuff? I know he has a meeting at 11.
Say it again, you what?
Can we do the TCAP agreement discussion? Because
sure.
I know he has a meeting at 11 o'clock.
Sure, absolutely, TCAP agreement. Anything else on Lady Justice? I don't want to cut it short. Okay. He being virtue,
Yes.
okay. You're on, you have the floor.
I know the TCAP agreement is due back to the state today, so I did follow up yesterday to see, I know the county commissioners have to sign it. I believe we sent you guys some information before. Commissioner Knosher, you're part of some of the discussions. I'm just here to answer questions, if you guys have any questions. I know, again, I have to submit it back today by 5 p.m. back to the state. They give me the deadline, so I just want to make sure I have all the signatures. But if anybody has any questions, I can answer them, or probably Josh Schaff can answer them.
We will hand deliver it to you, it will be signed this morning here.
I've got a couple questions. One is, you know, it's the state's motive for doing this is really to reduce their prison population. So, you know, anytime the state's trying to solve their problems on our back, I'm suspicious of the motives. So, you know, and I know Attorney General Yost, or candidate, came out against TCAP. So, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, are we making the best decision here for the long term? of the
I'd be
county?
glad to answer that. They passed a law. We are now allowed to send any felony fives to prison starting July 1st, 2018.
Yeah, I
So
got-
that's the General Assembly that has passed that, and it passed pretty overwhelmingly. To see that changing, I don't think we'll see it because of the prison population being so large that it's more costly to build more prisons, to have more guards. And what they've done is take a low-level felony, which is a felony of the 5th degree, nonviolent, usually drug-related, lower offense, and said, you take care of it at a local level, and we'll give you some money to do that. Now, that doesn't tie our hands. We can still send them to prison, but the funding gets reduced because we're paid
Right.
quarterly, so we will get reduced funding. But it was a way now to receive funding for that because we're going to be required to do that next year.
Because when I checked with the County Commissioners Association, the information they gave me is that the mandatory counties will be required in 2018 to not send F5s, but the voluntary counties, which we would be, are not required to send them in 2018.
That's right, but they'll reduce what money we receive. For each day that we send someone, an F5,
Yeah.
to prison, then we get reduced on that 270,000 088 that we
Well, the
received.
thing that impressed me about TCAP money, you tell me if I'm off base here, is that it is 270, is that where we're at?
270,000
Okay.
088.
But, and, you know, we've broken it down that the judges get 120 and the sheriff gets 120. But that money is to be used at your discretion. By that I mean the judge's discretion and the sheriff's discretion to do the programs that they think work best for this community.
Exactly.
There aren't any preset programs that say you need to
No.
use it for this and that.
No.
And that's why we have mental health and recovery locally administering it, to go over those things, and I assume that the recommendations that come out of the opiate task force will be the kind of things that are implemented in order to try to reduce the problem.
Exactly. All the judges are part of the opiate addiction task force, as well as the sheriff, as well as adult parole authority, as well as health department, as well as job and family services. So we will look at it from a community standpoint to see what's best. And to not take these monies that are being offered, I don't think would be a wise decision. This is a wise decision. We will handle the opiate situation on lower grade felonies. These are users, not usually sellers, but users, and handle it locally. Sending them to prison, where opiates is still available in the prison system, I hate to say that, but it is true, isn't the answer. This is a whole unique situation dealing with opiate addiction. And prison isn't for everyone. Now, there are certain people who need to go to prison, no question about it. But there are some we can work with here locally more intensively, and that money allows us to do that more intensively.
Yeah, and if I do the math though, if we have 10 people in prison and it's $72 a day, you know, that's to send them to prison, that's 7,000. And we've got 10 people down there now, right?
We did. It's a fluctuating.
Yeah, sure, I'm on average. I mean,
F5s are 12 months and less anyway, so.
But it's still, if there's an average of, that's $70,000 or $7,000 a day. I mean, $270,000 doesn't look like much when you're paying.
Those that we
$7,000.
already have down there grandfathered, it isn't like.
Right, but I'm saying new, and we're full.
No,
So
no.
we're not,
Just so you know,
No room
very
to
rarely do we get a criminal case with just one F5.
10
Okay?
times a year.
We get cases that they have several offenses, and some are felonies 4 and 3. They can get to go to prison, and that's not a deduction. So you're only looking at cases where there's a felony 5, period. And that doesn't happen very often. But when
10
it
times
does,
a
we're
year,
not
we
gonna.
have 10 people there.
Yeah, about 10 times a year, and
Yeah.
we're not sending those
Still
to prison.
$7,000 a day.
So, but you look at it the other way, those 10 people were getting $270,000.
One-time shot, but we have to pay for those 10 people forever.
Well, we may not put them in, we may keep them in jail, which is a little cheaper, or we may just get them into an intensive supervision or crossway, which is free to us. There's a lot of ways we can do things with those 10 people on the average.
There is no one solution to the opiate problem.
No.
You know, it's not with the courts necessarily always. It's not with the sheriff's department necessarily always. And certainly mental health and recovery tries their best after something's happened. But the fact is that this is an attempt to try to do something different. You know, the definition of insanity, we have them, we put them in jail, they come back out, or they start to keep using in jail, they come back out and.
Well, not jail. We don't have an opiate
Prison.
problem in the
Prison.
jail.
Right.
Want to make sure that's clear for everyone. Prison is run by the state
Sure.
authorities. Jail's run by our
Jail.
sheriff. There's nothing in the jail.
Jail and prison to the layman are pretty much the same thing. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mirchu.
No, I think, I just want to comment, make sure, Commissioner Thomas, you understand, July 1 of 2018, we all mandated to do this regardless of funding source. So
I don't know that that's true.
that is,
I think it got taken out of the legislation.
that is true, is mandated, according to our documents.
Yeah. The documents that I saw said it wouldn't be mandated for the voluntary counties. Mandatory counties, yes. You know, the big counties, Cuyahoga, Lucas. The voluntary counties, no, that we wouldn't be mandated.
I can clarify that. Voluntarily, the way we understand the voluntarily counties, we know mandated from September 18, which is this coming Monday, through June 30th of 2018. The judges can still have the discretion to send them to prison if they want to, and that is where they're gonna charge us $72 a day out of the 270,000. Starting July 1, everybody's mandated. The mandated counties are mandated now, September 18. So they gotta start the process 9-10 months before us as a mandated process.
My information's different, so.
Okay, I will clarify that.
Yeah, and my information's the same as Mearshot, but we'll check that. But we understand under Senate Bill 49, or House Bill 49, whatever, 49,
Yeah.
is no one sends F5s because of the overpopulation of the jail system, or prison system, prison system. And we are over by a large amount, and they just don't want these low-grade, non-violent, drug-related felony 5s.
Okay, let's take this as a separate issue. Let's get it approved. Let's see if we can get a motion to get it approved so that we'll have it done before Mayor Shue.
I have a resolution authorizing the agreement for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction subsidy grant targeted community alternatives to prison on behalf of Mental Health and Recovery Services.
Okay, I will accept the motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I have a second? If not, I will second it. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
No.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Absolutely. Okay, so we move on. Organizational meeting, I'm not certain what.
Our 10:30 is here.
Oh, okay, do we need to go into executive session at this point?
Please.
Okay, so I need a motion, I think, to go into executive session.
I will move that we go into executive session for purposes of property, sale of public property. Yep.
Sale of public property, okay.
Discussion of the sale of property.
Going back.
Okay, we will have additional information and additional discussion after we get back. Typically, we don't, but we will this time. So, you folks are welcome to stay.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.